Ready to get started with our weekly Zoom meeting. So I'm going to jump in and let some people in. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, let me see if I can get my technology working. Okay, we need to admit all. So welcome aboard. If you are in the Zoom meeting with us today, welcome. I see some faces, no actual live shots except for just momentarily before you mute your camera. So hi everybody, good morning. If you could, please just don't forget to chat in and say your name and what time you joined. Ready to get started with week 2. We're going to talk about budgets today. So we talked about saving last week. We're going to jump in and talk about budgets. So if you're joining on the Zoom call, just jump in and tell me what your name and what time, and good morning, Matthew, and everyone else. So thank you for that. And I'm assuming you can hear me because you're posting those chats as requested. I haven't heard from anyone. A big flew by my window. Like, it looked like a big party balloon, but it was about as big as me, and the sun was shining. It was bizarre. We should be together today. We would be sharing space and experience. I saw a friend of mine sent me an article last night about a professor, years old, and he's teaching psychology, and he's in the classroom, and he had a student who was not wearing her mask correctly. So apparently without covering her nose. Sorry, I'm reaching for a mask. I was going to try to illustrate. I hate these things. I absolutely hate them. They're worthless too. They don't work. They're a joke. But for some reason, some people think this is apparently, can you hear me now? I mean, I wouldn't want to wear this and teach at all. I wouldn't. Especially over my nose. But anyway, this student and this professor he made his own rule. Like, that college didn't require you to wear a mask and cover your nose and all that, but he required it in his class. But this student was not cooperating. Anyway, so she wasn't cooperating, and this 80-some-year-old professor was pretty anxious because he had diabetes. He was apparently situation was, don't know if he'd been vaccinated, but he basically retired. He quit on the spot. It was on Twitter. It was hilarious. It wasn't really hilarious. It was interesting. I'm thinking, dude, maybe it's time to retire. I don't know. I would tell you this, something like the flu, and I know COVID's worse than the flu because I know people who have died from it. But I refuse to live my life at the point I'm going to retire. But here I sit safely in my own space without anybody breathing. It's not because of COVID. It's because you've told me over the course of the last few semesters that you actually appreciate courses. So this is an online asynchronous course. It's now 10:05 a.m. Remember last week I told you that at about 5 minutes after to start teaching, and at that point, at 5 minutes after, I'm no longer going to admit students who join or try to join the Zoom meeting. So we're at that point. It is now, according to my Big Mac computer, 5 minutes after. I'm going to do something I forgot to do last week, phone, so that my phone calls and text messages and social media alerts don't distract me from the task at hand, which is budgets. This week we're going to talk about budgets. So again, it's 10:05 a.m. So if you have not joined in the Zoom meeting, you're too late. You won't be admitted, so you'll have to watch on Facebook. It's being streamed. And it's also, if you go to the webpage moneystudygroup.com, you'll see this is being streamed. So here we go. We're going to talk about last week. You guys did an awesome job with your comments. So what I wanted to do was just review a few comments. I just grabbed a few that were posted on YouTube, and so I got lots of additional comments inside the course at moneystudygroup.com. All great. You guys did an awesome job with not just this last week's class collaboration assignment, which was to post your comments, which you did. I didn't have one bad screenshot. Usually I have, that's not really a screenshot, but not this week. I had 0 defects in screenshots and 100% participation of students who followed the instructions. And I can't tell you how much that means to me, but for some reason, the summer school session that we just finished was like the total polar follow instructions to save my self. So I'm so thrilled about the way we're getting started with this semester, and I think you turned in your assignment in early, you got extra points. If you turned it in a couple hours late, you didn't get extra points. I'm trying to set the table and condition you and encourage you and incentive. The definition this semester of turning your assignment in early is Friday at 3 p.m. The market closes at 3 p.m., so I'm not always available to even review assignments, especially if it's a Friday and the market's either way up or way down. I'm doing my job on Friday. If you turn your assignment in by 3 o'clock on Friday, hopefully you saw some extra points. If you didn't, then I owe you some extra points. Points for turning your assignment in early. You get some feedback. If you miss something, you get an opportunity for me to point that out and give you some input and correct it. So this assignment is budget. I'm going to quickly kind of review the assignment this week. In this Zoom call, I'm going to cover some comments from last week to try to about what we're working on this week in the context of budgets. I'm going to contrast what we talked about last week in terms of saving, important laws of personal finance, which is the first law of personal finance, the law of spending and saving. So I'm going to highlight that, and then I'll jump to the things that you're really going to want to pay attention to, and then we'll try to wrap this up as quickly as possible. So thanks for being here. If you're watching on YouTube after it's not live, you can listen a lot faster than I can talk, but I'll try to talk fast. Okay, so here we go. Budgets. So week 2. First thing I wanted to do was just review some comments. So, and again, these are comments you posted on YouTube. So if you're wondering, like, why are you posting? You already posted these in a public way, and that's why I chose your comments. I hope that's cool. If it's not, Facebook or YouTube, that's a public place, and so I'm using your comments liberally. If you're posting inside Money Study Group, I'm not taking the liberty. If you want me to use your comments, just let me know. I'd love to do that. But so Lance, way to go. Here, Lance said, I've been managing my finances well, and I feel confident that my money managing will change once I take on more expenses. I always feel like I could be saving more, and I anticipate that saving will only be more difficult in the next couple of years. I hope to gain skills to be able to optimize my savings for the future. So Lance, I want you to know that this week you're going to learn a little bit more about budgeting. And so the goal of this week's homework and this week's work that you're going to do in your financial planning portal is to set the table and help you recognize the. But I'm just going to say, Lance, I don't really like budgeting. It feels restrictive. It's like extra work, and so for me, I'm 59 years old. Easy for me to budget was just to commit myself to saving. And once I had really clear goals for what I was saving, it made the budgeting process super easy, because here's the deal. I wanted to be debt-free. I didn't want to go into debt and spend more than I make, which is the first law. So you can save more for what matters most. So that law became part of my approach to personal finance. And so by doing that, by committing to save, that kind of eliminated the rigmarole of budgeting. Now my wife, Connie, she's a way more of a planner than I am. Some fun. And I know that saving's important, and I have goals, and I really cared all through my life about getting to a point where I was like 50 years old, where I could do whatever I'm able to teach this course and not be worried about going out and getting a new client today. So I'm at that point in my life because I had that goal and I had that commitment. And so I know how you feel. You're going to make more money, you're going to have more expenses, but if you choose, we'll kind of eliminate the need, especially if you have that two-part goal that you're going to save but you're not going to get buried in debt. Then you'll basically will manage themselves because you will be careful about not overspending. And a budget is a great way to do that, but a budget isn't for everyone. If you're like my wife Connie, to tell your money where to go, and that's what this week's all about. So I hope that's encouraging. You will learn throughout this course some ways to optimize your savings for the future. We call that investing. So there's saving and then there's investing. And right now in the first third of this course, we're focused on saving and budgeting to go where you want them to go to achieve the goals that you want in your life. So hopefully that's encouraging. Lance, thank you so much for that great comment. Now, Hela said, I feel anxious thinking about financial freedom and how to manage my finances right now and after graduating college. I took this class because I know there's so much more to saving money. And you're right. About saving money, it's not just about accumulating money in your savings account or your checking account or under your mattress. There's way more to build. But before I move on, I want to encourage you. I want to kind of hang out this challenge to every single person watching this video and hearing my voice. And this move, it doesn't really matter. I want you to think about this challenge. So I know from teaching this course in personal finance at the University of Houston that most of the students who come into this course, they have anxiety, they want to learn about managing money, and right thing, but most of them don't have even $500 saved in a checking account or a savings account. So here's a savings account, an emergency fund, a stash of cash that is at least $500. It really should be $1,000. We have $50, somewhere in your underwear drawer. That's where I keep my gold coins. So if you ever break into my house, you know right where to go. Gold coin. But so wherever you keep your cash, hopefully it's in a checking account or even better yet, a savings account. Your emergency fund should be money. But my question is very simple. When it comes to saving, how many of you have actually done that? How many of you have actually set up an account specifically for saving? If you haven't done that yet, that's like super baby step number 1. And if you haven't done that, do it today. It's super easy. The purpose of saving. Now, I'm not talking about your checking account, your debit account at the bank. Go right to that bank and set up a new account, a separate account that's separate. You really don't even want to have it linked. It's better generally to set that account up at a totally different institution, just constantly dipping into it so that you have the kind of the boundary of setting money aside for an emergency fund. That's like the first, is you save money for emergencies. And yeah, there's so much more to saving money in terms of building wealth. But you can't really build wealth until most of us can't really save money if we don't have some mechanism that governs where our money's going, and that's what a budget is, and that's what you're going to do this week for your home. The whole reason of creating a budget, the whole reason for tracking your spending and being accountable with your money is so that you have to establish a good emergency fund and then start saving more so that you can invest it. You have no business investing if you haven't saved. So again, my challenge to you is if you don't already have at least $500 sitting in a savings account that's dedicated to emergencies, then doing that today. Set up the account, post that comment. I'll give you extra points if you tell me, yeah, I didn't and I do now. Obviously that it would be like something to celebrate if you came into this course without having that account established, because you're not going to have that account set up. When you get into wealth management, the majority of what I do for clients in terms of helping them manage their wealth and their account management. And we're going to get into that in the third part of this course, where we talk about tax-advantaged investing. It's all about for you is to set up a type of account that's very specifically designed to help you save for emergencies. And that account should have some zeros on it. So if you've got 2 zeros on that account, my challenge is to you to get to 3 zeros. So if you then get to 1,000, okay, and if you've got $1,000 in your emergency fund, maybe it's time for you to think about saving 10,000. Now, savings goal, but it's really important because you should have enough in your emergency fund so that for 6 months, if you're out there working, paying bills, you got your budget all keen, you should have an emergency fund that's sufficient to pay for your living expenses for at least 6 months. 3 to 6 months is and that's great. But believe me, 6 months is a better cushion than 3 months. And if you don't have an account set up today, then you're not even taking those to being successful in personal finance. So that's my big encouragement, my big challenge to you this week is to do that, set up that account and start saving and accumulate some money in that account. Make that your mission. So yeah, but really saving and investing, 2 different things. You can't do the second until you do the first. You shouldn't even start doing the second until you do the first. And I know that may be bad news for some of you because you really want to get into investing. It's the most popular topic in this course, and I love investing. And I promise you we're going to spend time on investing. I'm going to teach you the top 4 investment strategies that are designed to maximize your return and minimize your risk. And before I even teach you about the perfect investment, which really goes back to saving in the right type of account, which is a heads up 401k, a company sponsored 401k with a company match. That's the perfect investment. If you haven't watched, you know that, but that's kind of it's a future question on a quiz. But anyway, saving and investing to having the right account set up for the purpose of an emergency. And then investing is different types of accounts so that you can do different things. And then hugely important to building wealth. So yes, Hela, we're going to get into all of that. And I promise you, yes, through this semester and you pay attention, you take a few notes and you do your homework, you're going to develop some of the skills, the basic skills that you need to be very confident in how you're managing money. That's what this whole course is about. You're going to step by step that's going to help you do that. And do that meaning it's going to help you create the confidence to do all of the things you need to do. Significant success and become a millionaire by the time you're 50. Okay, Alex is in the waiting room, but he's not going to be admitted. Nobody else is going to get admitted. Now, let's see, Avery. The thought of having to manage my money seems overwhelming, but I honestly believe that once I get the hang of it, it won't be as difficult of a task to manage. I think that people get overwhelmed when they feel as if they have no. I really appreciate these comments, and Avery, that's absolutely right. And so you say after completing educational courses such as this one, you think it'll give people more peace of mind. And the challenge that you anticipate being faced with is the discipline that comes with having to myself within a budget, because it's not something that comes easy for me, but it will definitely be rewarding to see the benefits of me doing so. And you're absolutely right. And this to achieve your objective, or what you said, is possible if you take educational courses such as this one. This one is incredibly different than any one personal finance course that I've ever found that has what you've been given access to. You're going to have access starting this week to a premium planning portal where you work with me in collaboration to create a financial plan, so that you get to see how all these pieces fit together and create your comprehensive financial plan. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by that. It can be a financial plan, but this semester we're going to make it kind of like a game, piece by piece. We're going to put the puzzle together. I'm going to show you the picture on the outside of the box, and then you're going to get to pick up each piece, put in some data each week and build your financial plan piece by piece like a puzzle. An assignment will be pretty much done, and you'll just be basically taking all of those pieces that you put together throughout the semester, and you'll be able to hold up the big picture of your finance. It is going to be based on lots of assumptions, like when you graduate, what kind of job are you going to get? What is your income going to be? We're going to make some assumptions along the way so that we put you into the context of your financial plan years down the road. And it is, but it's going to be the best way that we've found to help you wrap your head around all of the pieces of personal finance that will help you be very confident in moving forward and becoming independent and responsible for managing your own money. So again, thanks for that great comment, Jasmine. But I always worry if I've saved enough money for the future. It's a good question. It's one of the top 3 questions that everyone has who comes to me to hire me as, do I have enough to retire? And it really boils down to a couple of basic things. Let me just say that if you want to know if you have enough to retire, call it the burn rate. So I spend about $110,000 a year. Now that's a big number. So I need to be able to earn even more than that, so I can save, so that I can really not work, not earn money at some point, and still have sufficient money to live. People in my family live a long time, and that's one of the big keys to figuring out, do you have enough money to retire? Is, okay, if you're going to live to be 60, if your family shorter lifespan, then you don't have as difficult a job to save enough to retire. But in my family, we live to be old, and so I have to know, now the 110 grand that I spend right now, I could reduce that to half of what it is. But right now I'm making enough money to be able to spend what I first. I always save first. So I make the investment in my future, in my retirement plan, before I spend, and of that 110,000 is my savings. So that's what I'm going to teach you how to do, to learn how to do it better and what channels you can use. To really says to me is that you're thinking in a very smart way, and when we get to the point where we start to talk about tax advantaged investing, which is should you be putting your money in, from there we're going to get into different asset classes, like which investments should you be investing in inside of. Your question, your concern, your comment is what channels I can use to invest my money into. That's a great, I'm thrilled to see you planted in your mind, because that's what we're going to cover in this semester but just understand that wealth management, 90% of wealth management is a type of account, because that's how you do tax advantaged investing. Is you have to know what type of account is the best type of account to get the best results, the best return comes for the money that you're investing. It's more about the type of account than it is the type of investment. Type of account at this semester, that they're very different. And so when we get into investing, you're going to understand type of account versus type of investment. An investment bond. So you're going to learn about types of investments, but first, or in the meantime, you're going to have to learn about types of accounts. So great question. Sophie Robertson, I'm assuming, Sophie, you capitalize your name when you write it on a paper, but you didn't on YouTube, so I didn't either. Hello, Professor. Managing money as an adult came way very ahead. What's important to make good choices when it comes to financials. And if you are smart 90% of the time, everything will be okay. So I'm just going to leave it there. Smart is helpful, but I know a whole lot of smart people who don't make wise choices with money. And frankly, honestly, unfortunately, I'm talking to a lot of people in that category right now. And I don't to be a jerk. I say it because it's true. My experience, I'm 59 years old. I've been doing this business worked with a whole lot of very, very smart people who never figured out how to make wise choices with their money, because money is emotional in nature. And things that we want sometimes offers that we need. And when that happens, it's like when your outflows exceed your inflows, then your upkeep and more than you earn, because you're buying things that you don't really need, but things that you can't not live without, things that you want. You end up not emergencies, you end up not having surplus to invest for the future, and you end up living for today, being paycheck to paycheck or buried in being smart. It's about taking the next step. And that's why my challenge this week to you is, do you have an account that's set enough away from your, access in your debit card? Like if it's linked to your debit card account, trust me, it's not going to be, it could be very low. Like, man, I need some pizza instead of some bologna or whatever. So that's the challenge. Don't just be simple thing and you'll find success. But it doesn't come from being smart. This course or any other course or any book that you read, books you guys read, I hope you are reading some books. I hope you're consuming some good financial content that gives you some that. When I was in your shoes, when I was in college, I read this book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. And in that book, the millionaire next door is these people that live in your neighborhood. They live old cars and they do not look like millionaires. They just look like regular people. But they buy clothes at the retail shop, like my wife. She loves to do that. They buy used cars, but they learn how to get a really good deal on used cars. They're really good at negotiating, which we're going to cover the basic skills you need just to negotiate. Because if you choose to negotiate like these people in this book, The Millionaire Next Door, it's wonderful life. So when I read that book, the idea was planted in my head and in my heart that because these people, these millionaires next door, they were so much regular, like they were so regular. It was the little things that they did, like buying used, saved so much money. And because I was a master mechanic, that one was super easy to me, because I would never buy a new car when it's fun to, when you know that you can go fix whatever's broken. That's like a super cool deal. And so for me, that was just such a natural fit. So this book, The Millionaire Next Door, that cars and how they buy cars and how they cut their own hair. I don't know if you noticed, but I cut my own hair, and it saves a lot of money. So just at Costco, I don't go to Starbucks. Think about how much it costs if you happen to have a Starbucks habit, a daily Starbucks habit, and maybe you don't even buy the coffee and then $1 for the tip for the barista. Maybe you buy the specialty coffee, which is $4 or $5 a cup, and then a $2 tip for the barista, and you do that every day for 5 days a week. Just do the math. So mindless spending, Sophie. Mindless spending will lead to a much less good result in your financial future. Budgeting. This whole course, we're going to focus on spending. It's going to be a big part, an ongoing part. And so I'm just going to this is the video, 3 Laws to Personal Finance. And so I'm not going to I just want to make sure you have access to this video and what's in it. It's a short video that, to me, it's a foundation for this course, and it really helps set the table for what I hope you will learn and what I hope you will do this semester. So just wanted to highlight that, the 3 Laws of Personal Finance. But now let's jump into your week 2 assignment, budgeting. And I'm going to yes, Harsh, finding a good used car is a big process, but it's rewarding to find the right one. It sure is. I love It's not as fun shopping for used cars today with COVID as it used to be, because a Lexus ES350, none of the dealers were willing to make any kind of deal. I finally found a dealer in North Houston who had and then I found out it was Toyota Gillo Toyota. I can't team. The owner was there. I got to meet the owner and the sales manager, and I found out the only reason they made a deal on the car that I bought is because they had a salesman, and I happened to get connected with that salesman, and I told him I was looking for a deal. I wasn't in a hurry, but I wasn't going to buy a car unless I found a deal, and he said, okay, I'll make you a deal. And his management, who always makes the decision on the price of the car, said, yep, sell this car because we want to help you get out of your slump. So that's kind of a cool story. I got a good deal on a used car, the right car, and you're right. It's your assignment for week 2. You're going to create a budget, okay? I don't want you to spend a lot of time on this assignment. It shouldn't take a lot of time. There's tons and tons of ways to create a budget. Basically, I want you to start to think about all of the categories that are involved in the cost of living, like your life, about all the ways that you spend money, and not just the way you spend money, because most of you, I've found, most of you are not paying your own expenses. So a lot of you are, some of you are, and for those of you who are, you get it. Costs for the electric bill. You know what it costs for cable or Wi-Fi. You know what it costs for car insurance or gas, oil change, or a haircut, or clothes, or food. You know, because you pay those bills, okay? Some of you are older, you've got some more life experience, have no clue what it costs for you to live. And so for those of you who don't know, you're going to have to do some research and thought about, okay, so maybe you're living at home for free. Maybe your parents are not charging you rent. You're going to have to do a little research to figure out, okay, if I were living on my own and I were responsible for my bills, how much would I be paying if I rented a room from a family and I had to split the cost? Let's say it's a 4-bed, costs $2,000 a month. Your portion for rent would be $500. I mean, that's just a guess, clear, but I do expect you to think about it. I expect you to go through some rational, logical thought to figure out, okay, what does it cost for you to spending that money to live? Someone else is, though. Someone else is paying the utility bill, so when you walk into that cool house because the air conditioner's been running and it's 100 degrees outside and 97 that cool house, and you're like, oh, this, and you go grab a cold drink of water or maybe a soda from the refrigerator that you didn't buy. I mean, I want you to think about all of those expenses, even the ones that yourself. I want you to put a budget together and show me that you understand what's the nut that you have to crack. Remember, I told you I spent 110 grand a year. I could show you my credit card bills and say, here's where I spend it. You know, taxes, insurance, advertising for my business. Imagine how much I spend on technology. Like the things that I'm using to do this show right now, to do this episode, this Zoom meeting. There's so many pieces of tech, expensive invention. Whatever your life costs, I want to see what is your budget. And when I say budget, I mean what is everything that if you had to be right now responsible for your life, how much money would you need to continue to live the life that you live? That's what I'm looking for. So I just want you to think about each category and try not to miss something, okay? So I've given you some resources for how to do that. And then I've got this playlist at Charles Schwab. It's like 12 videos. They're very, very short videos. And I just want you to watch all of the videos. Watch all of the videos. Let me say that one more time. Watch all of the videos in this playlist. And when you do that, let me see if I open this in a new tab. Will it let me open in a new tab? Well, I'm going to open it in YouTube. Let's see what happens. So I don't want to play it. But so this is the playlist, and it's got all of the video. There are 12 videos there, And you're going to find that some of those videos are more interesting. They're going to be like, hey, that, just like when I read The Millionaire Next Door, it was like this one hit me. It was like who I wanted to be, where I was in life, what made sense to me, and it just gave me to think about what's possible in my own life. I never, before I read that book, I never thought about the possibility that I could actually be a millionaire. But when they defined what it was to be a millionaire, but you're going to see a couple of them that you're going to be like, that really made a lot of sense to me. I want you to pick 3 or 4 of those videos, and they're really short. Just watch the playlist, pick a couple videos, do your article just like you did last week. You did a great job last week. Every single article I looked at, you spent time formatting it. Some of you gave me really creative titles that set the table and made me interested and want to read your articles. So part 2 of this week's assignment is we're going to start working on your financial plan. I call these capstone. Everything, when you hear the word capstone, just know that at the end of the semester, we don't have a final exam. The capstone. And the capstone is really just a summary of all of the assignments that you do throughout the semester. And these assignments are building, like I said, piece by piece, your financial plan. And we're going to do that in the Bayrock Financial Planning Portal. That's where you're going to start to build your budget. That's where you're going to link your credit cards or your accounts, including your credit cards. So let me talk about that for a minute. So when you see capstone, just know that this is part of a series of pieces of the course that are going to be important at the end of the course, because that's your capstone. It's worth 200 points. So this week you're going to take a couple of steps, and you'll see that in your instructions in Blackboard. And I want you'll complete these 6 data cards, and I've done a tutorial to show you step by step how to do that. It's really easy. Just watch that video. But I want to highlight part 3. Complete your detailed expenses. This is like your budget. You're going to do that in your... Now, this is... I want you to know there's an assignment coming up at the end, not at the end of the semester, but after about 60 days. So closer to the end of the semester, you're going to have an assignment. It's going to be 60-day spending tracker. Okay, that basically means starting now, you need to be, if you are already doing this, I hope, I pray, keeping track of your spending. So it's super easy to do this today. You'll be using your mobile app from your bank, and you'll see all of the transactions. And if you're like most people, you have one primary mode of spending. Now this is I only have one that's with me. So this is what I take everywhere I go, and it's a credit card. I don't use a debit card. Long story. I'll tell you that story sometime. But whatever you use, I'm assuming most of you use a debit card. Well, that keeps track of every single penny that you spend. And so that's for you to track your spending. Another way to do it is something called mint.com. It's been, over the course of the time I've taught this course, it's been the most app to use to track your spending. It's awesome because mint.com lets you, it's called aggregate your accounts, so that if you've got a savings account at Bank of America, another one at Chase, it lets you aggregate all of your accounts, your Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, Robinhood, aggregated so that you see one snapshot. Now, when you have lots of accounts, that's incredibly valuable. And Mint.com does that for you for free. And they use bank level. So it's free. The problem with Mint.com is when you sign up and you use their tool, you get all of these advertisements constantly. So when you're on their platform, there's all these ads popping up. And that's what it costs to get something for you. In your Bayrock planning portal is we've used the same technology, the same bank level encryption, and we've put that into a totally zero advertising, zero marketing. So it's your choice. Most of you are going to want to use your bank app because that's super easy and you're probably already doing it. Some of you may want to check out mint.com. You got access. There's no additional cost, and for the time that you're in this course, you'll have the same aggregation technology, and it's very expensive. very secure. That when you get into your financial plan, which you're going to start to do this week. So I know that may seem a little abstract at the moment, but when you watch the videos in Money Study Group, you're going to see me walk you through that step by step. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew there was this, because it is now August 31st. It is 10:50 a.m. almost, 10:48 a.m., and I'm making to pay attention to this announcement. You will be required to track your spending for 60 days. Okay, you're going to have an assignment. In that, I want to see the data. In other words, I don't care how you do it, but if you use your bank app, I want you to show me the data. Every penny you spent. That's number one, to prove that the next thing is accurate. The next thing is a graph. So if you've ever made a graph, a chart, usually your bank will give you that. There'll be that, and it'll show the categories of your spending. So that's number two. Number one is the data, number two is a graph, and number three, I'm going to ask you to tell me kind of what did you learn about yourself by focusing for 60 days for every penny that you spend. So again, three options: your bank app, mint.com, or use together in your course at Bayrock. It's safe, it's easy, it's a part of your financial plan. It makes a lot of sense to me, but every semester I get the concern, hey, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable putting my data in there. Fine, do whatever you want to do, but your data at the bank is no more secure than what's at mint.com, and it's all pretty much the same type of encryption. So you get to choose. I just want it to be a time, but it will take a little focus. So three things in that assignment that's coming later in the semester: the 60-day spending tracker. You have to, for 60 days, give me the data, create a chart showing the categories of spending, and then finally tell me what you learned. What did you discover about yourself and your spending habits over the last 60 days? So that'll all be part of your financial plan, but it will also be a separate assignment. And today you're being made aware that starting now, you need to track your spending. So we'll have September and October. At the end of October, the very beginning of November, and I'm going to ask you for three things. I want to see the data to the penny. How much did you spend? Number two, I want to see a chart showing the categories of those expenses. And number three, what did you learn? So that assignment is coming, and you're being warned today, August 31st at 10:50 a.m. And that's about it. So now I'm going to, let's see if I missed anything. Yeah, you guys pretty much have this down. The articles that you did last week were perfect. So just keep doing what you're doing. Those of you who did not turn your assignments in early, I'm sorry that you missed out on the extra points, but there's no need for you to miss out this week. Again, those early assignments are due on Friday at 3 p.m. If you get them in by Friday at 3 p.m., I will give you extra credit for getting them in early. If you miss something, I may even deduct points, but you'll get some feedback, and if you fix something that was missing and you turn it in by Tuesday at 10 a.m., which is when the assignments are due, you'll still get the extra, and you didn't have all the information that you needed, or you missed something. Okay, so that's a super deal. My hope, my goal, my encouragement to you is, with a couple of weeks to spare, you're going to have 950 points, which is what you need for an A. You're going to have it ahead of time so that you can spend your time on those classes that are more demanding, that have a final examination. And this course will be done. You'll be done with a couple weeks left if you turn your assignments in early. So I am competing with your other courses, and I know that, and I'm trying to manipulate you as much as possible to focus on this course, to get as much out of it as possible so that you can achieve success and really confidence that will give you the success that you really want in managing your money. So that's it for today. Next week we'll be back. Don't forget, leave your comments. Tell me, this week's comments is about what are you doing to save, like your emergency fund. I'd love to hear, like, do you put it in the bank that you have your debit card, or is it a separate institution? What's your plan? How much are you going to be saving? Your emergency fund status. Are you thinking that's a good idea to start someday, or are you already working on it? You don't have to get too personal. If you don't want to share it with the world, then don't post it on YouTube or Facebook. Post it in Money Study Group, and only those of us in the course will see it. But if you want to have it talked about, then either give me permission on your comments this week, or post them in YouTube, and I'll grab them and we'll cover those, review those next week. So, will the assignment be on Blackboard again? Harsh, always, every week. Yes, absolutely, 100%, no question about it. Every assignment that you get points for are going to be in Blackboard. All of your tutorials and guidance and helpful steps are going to be in Money Study Group. That's the online course, but the point student at the Bauer College of Business, everything is in Blackboard that you need in terms of assignments and points for your grade. So thanks for that question. Is telling you the status of future investment. Have no idea what you mean by that. And the participation grade is telling you the status of future income. Doesn't make sense to me. So maybe you could restate that. I'll wait for a minute here for a few seconds. But Harsh, and the participants of future investment, question mark. I'm going to give you like the count of 10 to restate that so I can try to figure out what you're asking, but I do not understand that question. Sorry, I'm sorry. So 10, 9, 3, 2, what you were just talking about in terms of what you were doing to save for the future, question mark. Oh, so you're talking about this week's comments and how you're going to get points for class participation. That's what you're asking, is what do I want you to talk about in your comment. So yeah, the comment is, and there are other comments posted in the course too that you can respond to, but I'm just saying in this Zoom meeting, one of the things we fund. So leave a comment when you watch this on YouTube, Facebook, or if you just want to leave it in Money Study Group. Leave a comment about what do you think is the right amount to save for an emergency fund. I told you 3 to 6 months is what most people say, and I'm telling you 6 months is better than 3 months, but what do you think? Your account at the same bank as your debit card, or is it somewhere else, and why? Just some thoughts that you can share, your comments about the basic idea of how do you do. And a lot of you haven't even done it yet. I know that. I mean, because I've taken polls in the past. And so I'm hoping that every single student in this course who doesn't have an emergency fund, an account set up for that, will do it. So that could be your comment. Hey, that's a great idea. We should all have an account. So I'm setting one up at my credit union or my bank or another bank or whatever. Just tell me. That's what I'm asking. So great question. Thank you for looking for this week's class participation, and that's really around the area of emergency funds. So thank you. Okay, that's going to do it for this week. It's 10:57 a.m. I'm always trying to get done by 10:30, and if I do it by 11, I'm not the length. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget that little feature. You can go double speed, and you can listen a lot faster than I can talk. See you next time. Have a great week.